So in the last video, I showed you how to use a simple transfer curve like this one here to expand the dynamics on certain sounds to match it to the rest of your song, to the rest of your instruments pretty easily. So here we have this drum loop, right? And it's pretty much compressed compared to the rest of the track. So we take this transfer curve, and expand the dynamics so it matches better with the dynamics of the rest of the instruments. So this was the idea. But you can also measure this, of course. So here I have this completely free measuring tool called dB meter5. I think a lot of people use this already. And it gives you here this kind of loudness range value. And when I turn the compression up, you can see this is here getting higher, or the value is increasing. So this is measured in loudness units. Then in the RMS mode here, we can also see this, and this is probably a term you already heard somewhere else, crest. And the crest is the peak, or the RMS value divided by the peak value. And it gives you an indicator how dynamic a sound is, or an audio signal is, right? It's the distance between the RMS and the maximum peak. So yeah. I think in the RMS world, it works differently than in the EBU mode. EBU, or in LUFS, basically the higher the value, the more compressed the signal is. And here it's exactly the opposite. You see basically the dynamic range here. So the higher the value here is, the more dynamics you have. Right, so the number goes down. So this is how you do it with the dB meter5 here. And sometimes I do this on certain buses. So let's say you want to make an album with a lot of tracks, and some of these tracks don't match, or you want to use the same compression on every drum bus in every song or in every track, right? So you have the same kind of sonic quality throughout your album, right? So you can measure this and can say, oh, I want to have my drum bus always this kind of crest value, or I want to have with all my master outputs all the same crest value. So you can measure the dynamic range with this pretty easily. But you don't need to use very absolute dB number. Sometimes it's enough if you just can see quickly if something is compressed or not, or too much compressed. So I built this kind of crest preset here in Bitwig Studio. It doesn't alter the sound. It doesn't change the sound at all. It's just for measuring things. And I'm using here the audio input, and then I go into two envelope followers. One is measuring RMS value with a window of 600 milliseconds. And this one is measuring the peak, the maximum peak, the very quick fall time here. And then it goes into division, right? I divide these two values, and then I go into an average thing here, and then I go out with the modulator, and I just modulate here this knob. So you can see with this kind of modulation here that this one is maybe too much compressed, or how much something is compressed. It's kind of an arbitrary value. It just is an indicator, a quick indicator basically. So when we go down here with the, when we increase the expansion, you can see this goes down. So the lower this value is, right, the more dynamic a song is, or a track, or an audio signal. If we go up, you can see this value also goes up. Okay, that's kind of it. But then I thought maybe let's introduce here another follower pair to actually analyze the second signal. And here I'm analyzing my kick and snare bus, right? So I want to mix basically kick and snare with my drum loop. So I measure the crest value also there. And then I have here the sidechain output down here. So you can see the crest value of my drum or kick and snare bass here down here, right? So I can compare it. Then I made some kind of diff or difference between the two. And you can see then here immediately if something matches in terms of compression. Right, my drum loop is now over compressed here compared to my kick and snare bass. This would be under compressed. You can also increase the average value, of course. So I think this would be the right value for this transfer curve because, you know, the diff meter here doesn't move that much. So with this, you can match the dynamics of certain tracks pretty easily inside of Bitwig just with this preset. And it's very simple. I put this in the description below if you want to use it. And you can try it out for yourself and you don't need to use the dB meter, which you also can use if you don't use Bitwig, of course. And then measure the loudness range and compare it to your other tracks. And then it makes it, I guess, a bit more easier to mix and master tunes without having certain tracks sticking out because they are overly too much compressed to the rest of the instruments. That's it. Thanks for watching, guys. Leave a comment, leave a subscription. Let me know what you think, and I see you in the next video. Bye.